I'm just going to Cardiff Trade Sales to speak to Lee, the owner, to see how they're getting on with Drakeford's lockdown. So Lee, you own Cardiff Trade Sales. How long have you been here?
20 years.
20 years?
Yeah.
How is Drakeford's lockdown affecting you and your business?
Massively. And in the last, obviously this new lockdown, they made it impossible to trade. We've always been on the back foot, and we're on the back foot now more than ever, because Drakeford hasn't made itself very clear in what we can do and what we can't do. Trading Standards were here Saturday. I had a discussion with them to ask them about can we work on the phone and take phone orders and deliver the cars to England. They wasn't able to answer that question. They wasn't sure. They said they'd go away and check. However, that's no good to my business.
So, Trading Standards came here to enforce the regulations, and they couldn't tell you what the regulations were?
They couldn't tell me if we could send cars to England by transport, because they wasn't sure. All they could assure me of is customers were allowed on the site, which makes it impossible for us to sell cars, which we're very aware of. However, there is no detail in what we can do and what we can't do.
If this lockdown continues, or there's another one in the new year, how is that going to affect you?
This place costs £30,000 a month overnight. But if we've got no income, how many months can we sustain that for? However, there are smaller businesses than me that I feel very sorry for, that are on the brink. But it's Drakeford down there, obviously not aware of what's going on in the country. And also, he's not making himself very clear in what we can do and we can't do. All I have said is let's work by appointment, let's make sure everybody's sanitised, let's make sure everybody got masks on, and let's do it that way. However, they're not hearing none of that. So you've been working by appointment, people turn up, they're outside, they're more than 6 feet away from the salesperson, everybody has a mask on, the sanitizer, so what is the problem? I have no idea. There's just no common sense here. I mean, obviously, going forward, it hasn't been thought through. I just wish business people were running the country, not morons.
If you had a message for Drakeford, what would it be?
I'd just say, you know, obviously, take your hands from under your ass and listen to business people who are the core part of Wales, who pay the most VAT and tax into the economy, and just have a little think about what you're doing, because in a minute it'll be far too late. You can't shut the gate after the horse is bolted. And you know, we are in a pandemic. I agree with that. There are people ill. I got loads of friends in the NHS, consultant friends of mine, surgeons. I got loads of friends. They need cars, and they need to be protected. I agree with that 1,000,000%. However, shutting people's businesses up won't help that.
The government and Drakeford have to listen. What we need is a bit of common sense. We need regulations that work to keep people safe. We need to fight this virus, but we need to do so in a way so that we can all continue with our lives differently. That's the key point. We need to look after the vulnerable, support the vulnerable, shield them, but enable people to go about their business. The backbone of the Welsh economy, small businesses. Let me know what you think.